Hi, folks. Undoubtedly, you have heard that President Obama plans to address the school children of America on September the 8th in an effort, in my opinion, to control the minds of our young people. Now, the reported goal of this speech is to instill the importance of going to school, staying in school, and getting a good education. And on the surface, that seems fine. But you know, I do not trust Obama, and I do not trust any of the people around him. I do not trust his programs, his policies, or his plans. So my advice to you, keep your children home on September the 8th. We need not have them subjected to the whims of the U.S. government. And on that day, we shall declare it Nobama Day. Keep your children home, and if you wish to view the presentation with your child, explaining to him exactly what is going on and the consequences of the remarks being made, that is fine. But keep your children home on September the 8th. Remember, it's Nobama Day. Now, here are a couple of videos you can view that discuss the pros and cons of the president's proposed speech. You can make up your own mind.
President Obama is set to speak via satellite to school children across the country next Tuesday. His message is about staying in school and getting a good education, but not everyone wants that message getting to our kids from him. The chairman of Florida's Republican Party, Jim Greer, blasted the president's plan, saying in a press release, quote, "As the father of 4 children, I am absolutely appalled that taxpayer dollars are being used to spread President Obama's socialist ideology." And as CBS 4's Maribel Rodriguez reports tonight, some parents in South Florida agree with him, and they want their kids taken out of the classroom during this speech.
Our commander-in-chief will be making his presence heard on Tuesday in all classrooms throughout the country. But his speech, which will focus on persisting and succeeding in school, is not sitting pretty with all parents. According to the Broward School Board, they have received several calls and emails from some of the parents. One said, "I will not tolerate my children being brainwashed by the same man." Another wrote, "I believe as a parent that I am the one who should teach my child about personal responsibility and life goals. I do not agree with any of President Obama's views and policy, so I would appreciate it if my child not participate." However, Superintendent Jim Notter says the speech will be aired and is no different than the inauguration.
We've always taken a position, that we teach civics in its most broadest sense, and this is an opportunity, frankly, no different than the inauguration was. We had the inauguration go out to all schools, and students were able to participate in that.
Most parents, however, agree with Notter, saying the president's speech is a great idea.
Yes, I think it's a good thing because this encourages the students, the kids to do better and to be their best.
I think it's a great opportunity. I think all the children should hear what he's got to say. And I just think it's really excellent that he's going to come and talk to the children. I think it's fantastic.
Not only has the president's speech sparked controversy at schools, but also among the two parties.
The whole idea here really just sets a dangerous precedent for, the fact that the White House can send out teaching materials to every school in the country. I think that's something that parents should be deeply concerned about.
And there's a law precedent for this as well. President George H.W. Bush did the same thing. Regularly, presidents and other elected officials travel around the nation, usually speaking at schools. No one accuses them of indoctrination.
The president's speech will be aired Tuesday at noon on C-SPAN, and Superintendent Notter tells us here in Broward County they will air it in all schools, and no, there will not be an alternative plan for those students whose parents do not want them to watch. In Fort Lauderdale, Maribel Rodriguez, CBS 4 News.
Well, we did put in a call to Miami-Dade schools, and they are still working on their plans for Tuesday's speech.
The administration is rethinking its course recommendations ahead of the president's address to the nation's school children next week. This after a Department of Education document created to help teachers drive the president's message home raised some serious questions. White House correspondent Wendell Goler explains.
Okay, so maybe it wasn't such a good idea for aides of a president trying to sell highly controversial health insurance reforms and under fire for bank and auto company bailouts and budget deficits to suggest teachers make a lesson of his back-to-school message by having their kids write essays on how they can help him.
He is aggressively pushing a socialist agenda. I don't want the government in our school system telling us what the young people should think.
Administration officials say the president never planned to talk about politics or policy, but Secretary Arne Duncan's Education Department has changed the suggested lesson plan from how kids might help the president to how they'll achieve their own goals. Supporters say it was nothing more than a tempest in a teapot.
This is really innocuous stuff. It was ideas for ways to engage kids with the president's speech. I mean, there wasn't anything that was sort of political.
And even some critics say it was more of a dumb idea than a bad one.
Hey, this isn't that big of a deal, but they really should be not sticking their necks out on projects like this that really take the attention away from the good things that they're doing.
But the controversy spread quickly over the internet and conservative talk shows, and some parents are now threatening to keep their kids home next Tuesday. Jim Greer has a different demand.
I do believe the White House has an obligation to release the president's text before Tuesday and tell parents across this country what he intends to say.
Mr. Obama won't be the first president to talk to the nation's students.
I'm not here to teach a lesson. You already have a very good teacher.
The first President Bush talked to kids at a Washington, D.C. junior high school in late 1991, and his message was carried into classrooms from coast to coast.
Take control. Don't say school is boring and blame it on your teachers. Make your teachers work hard.
Ronald Reagan gave a nationwide speech to school kids in 1988. President Obama is building up to his speech with public service announcements, one about his own education.
I wouldn't have been at this ceremony if I hadn't been at this ceremony first.
And another by NASCAR drivers reinforcing the theme.
To stay in school, to do your best.
In Minnesota, Colorado, and Texas, school officials are trying to decide if kids will even see the president's address on Tuesday. In Columbia, Missouri, they reportedly have decided, and the answer is said to be no. Brett?
Okay, we'll follow it. Wendell, thank you.
So what do you think about Nobama Day? I think it's a good idea. If I had school-age children, they would not be attending school on September the 8th. I think it'll send a message to the government that we as Americans will not tolerate interference into our lives or the lives of our children. So I hope you will consider my suggestion. Keep your children home on September the 8th. Thank you, folks. And may the good Lord take a liking to you.